rumored movies that set the fandom's expectations soaring to the announced projects that fizzled away, Star Wars has not been immune to bumps in the road. Here's a look at some of the Star Wars projects that became Force Ghosts. Movie news, especially Star Wars movie news, used to come from a lot more wondrous sources like Starlog magazines, movie theater one-sheets, or your friend from elementary school who definitely has a cousin who definitely knows someone who definitely works at Lucasfilm who definitely knows George Lucas and says he has 9 Star Wars films planned. Oh, what wonderful times. These days, movie news is a big business, with the studios going to great lengths to make big splashes with announcements or trailers at conventions or during primetime football games. Or, as was the case in December 2020, a celebratory event full of movie news and show news that would wow the investors of Disney. Investor Day 2020 brought forth several big Star Wars announcements, but none got more people excited than the confirmation of the feature film project Rogue Squadron. Set to be directed by Patty Jenkins, still riding high from the success of Wonder Woman, the tale was centered around her own love of Star Wars and her connection to fighter pilot culture thanks to her own father, a Silver Star award-receiving pilot who served in the Air Force during Vietnam. A promotional video featuring Patty sharing her story and walking toward a life-size X-Wing combined with the Rogue Squadron title that harkened back to Michael Stackpole and Aaron Alston's books from what is now called Star Wars Legends got fans primed and ready for this movie. A movie that, by all accounts, will never happen. The reasons might be varied and none of it has ever been confirmed, but it appears as though the movie got lost in a sea of scheduling conflicts, possible script issues, and Lucasfilm's desire to reevaluate the future of their films. The idea still might find its way to the screen, big or small, but for now, fans are only left to wonder what could have been. On that same Investor Day event, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy also announced 2 television programs that have yet to emerge: Rangers of the New Republic and a series based around the adventures of that lovable scoundrel, Lando Calrissian. The Lando series sounds like it's still alive and potentially well, with Kathleen Kennedy answering the question about the series at press events in early 2023 by saying it all lay in the hands of the series' potential star, Donald Glover. The multi-talented artist, writer, musician, and actor is set to reprise his younger version of Lando in the series if he can find the time to do so. And only recently it was revealed that Donald and his brother Steven are going to be writing the series. So it's not gone, and it doesn't seem to have been forgotten. But time will tell. The Rangers of the New Republic was a surprise announcement on that fabled Investor Day in 2020. Other than being produced by Jon Favreau and set squarely in the center of the so-called Mandoverse spilling out of Johnny Fav's hit series The Mandalorian, nothing was really known about the show. Sure. Rumors, I say, claimed it was to be centered around the character of Cara Dune, the former rebel shock trooper turned New Republic Ranger, but that was never actually confirmed. Speculation also ran rampant that Paul Sun-Young Lee's X-Wing pilot Carson Teva would be part of it, and fans clamored for other newer video game and book characters like Iden Versio, Nora Wexley, Shara Bay, and Kes Dameron to appear. As everyone knows by now, the actor behind Cara Dune, Gina Carano, found herself on the wrong side of history with some controversial posts, and Disney and Lucasfilm ended their working relationship with her. Mentions or news about the Rangers of the New Republic seemed to fade away into the binary sunset after that. As early as 2021, Kathleen Kennedy had said that the show was no longer in development, scripts had never been written for it, and that many of the story ideas for the series would find their way to future seasons of The Mandalorian, which all seems to line up with the 3rd season's final episode and the path forward for Din Djarin and Din Grogu. Though 2022 saw the release of the 6-episode ObiWan Kenobi series, the show that focused on Kenobi's journey to face his past trauma and rediscover what it means for him to be a Jedi during this dark chapter of the galaxy, it is relatively well known that the idea originally began as a feature film project. This was part of the initial planning and push for Disney-era Star Wars movies. Along the lines of Solo, a Star Wars story, as well as Rogue One, a Star Wars story, a Kenobi movie was set to bring back Ewan McGregor to the role he helped expand in the prequels. Some names were rumored to be attached, including screenwriter Stuart Beattie, but the film never came to be. A lot of that seemed to be the direct result of the Han Solo-centered film not performing to the extremely high box office standards set by the first 3 Disney-era films. But the project was turned into the series idea following the success of The Mandalorian on Disney+. Though the series successfully pulled in a lot of the ideas originally slated for the feature film, fans will always wonder what could have been if Obi-Wan met Vader one more time on the big screen. But Obi-Wan wasn't the first character to see his planned film never come to light. Back in 2015, Star Wars fans were expecting an announcement of a movie based around the galaxy's most notorious bounty hunter, Boba Fett. Josh Trank was said to be directing the film, and later claimed that he was minutes away from walking on stage at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim to share details of the project. He never made it to the stage. With stories of trouble on the set of his soon-to-be-released Fantastic Four movie growing, Trank later revealed to Polygon that he figured he needed to quit the Boba Fett movie because he was most certainly going to be fired by Kathleen Kennedy. Fans in attendance were told that Trank had come down with the flu and the Boba Fett movie never moved forward. Yes, 2022 brought us the Book of Boba Fett series from Jon Favreau and Robert Rodriguez, but by all accounts, the project was very much its own thing, and the Boba Fett movie remains a project lost to the sands of Tatooine. Just because something is reported as being in development or even existed only as a pitched idea doesn't mean it was going to happen. In the whirlwind of Star Wars movie news, that sometimes gets lost in the discourse shuffle. Part of that reason is fans' excitement and expectations for even just the most whispered of rumors or vaguest of comments can spiral out of control. Fans of Zack Snyder are excited to see his film Rebel Moon, but Zack himself has said that the idea began as a Star Wars idea that he pitched to Lucasfilm some time ago. Described as a mature take on Star Wars, the film never went anywhere inside the walls of the pre-Disney Lucasfilm offices. But that doesn't stop some from pinning this could-have-been project on the post-Disney version of the company. Maybe it could have worked. Maybe it wouldn't have. Fans will be able to see for themselves soon enough. In that same vein comes the legend of the Knights of the Old Republic movie. The video game series that first set the fandom on fire in 2003 has long been rumored to be making its way to live action. And in 2019, it became more than a rumor when Kathleen Kennedy told Josh Horowitz of MTV News that the idea was being talked about at Lucasfilm.
Yes, we are developing something to look at.
Kennedy never announced that the movie was happening, nor said it was anything more than a project being developed so they could, quote, look at it. But that didn't stop fans from taking that bit of information and carving it into stone. Now, to be fair, additional rumors claim that Shutter Island scribe Leda Calogridis had written a script for an Old Republic movie, and there was open speculation among fans and pop culture pundits that Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were going to be producing a trilogy set in this era. So it wasn't all false hope and big dreams. Benioff and Weiss soon parted ways with Lucasfilm for the greener pastures of a mega deal with Netflix, and to date, nothing has emerged on the Star Wars slate set in the Old Republic era. It was announced that James Mangold's Star Wars movie will explore the so-called Dawn of the Jedi, so perhaps that could lead to storytelling a few thousand years forward in the Old Republic era. Star Wars Underworld is the holy grail of Star Wars stories that never were. Back at the end of the prequel era and just before the Clone Wars arrived to inspire a new generation of Star Wars fans, George Lucas himself was set to do the impossible: take the epic Star Wars saga to television. But, in a slightly different manner than the infamous holiday special of 1978 or the Ewok made-for-TV movies of the mid-80s. Supposedly set in the underbelly of the Star Wars galaxy, Star Wars Underworld was a rumor that everyone wanted to be true. And it was. Prequel producer and legendary gum-chewer Rick McCallum confirmed the show's existence in 2011. He told IGN that 50 scripts have been written, with Battlestar Galactica's Ronald D. Moore said to be behind some of them, and the series would be set between episodes 3 and 4 and revolve around the Empire trying to take over and keep control of the galaxy. The series was said to be too expensive to make, as the digital technology needed to create the show's locations was not quite ready to pull off. Though McCallum claimed the show would be out in 3 to 4 years back in 2011, Star Wars Underworld, of course, never came to be. Many of the concepts and ideas of the show found their way into Star Wars storytelling, including what would become the character of Saw Gerrera and some of the themes of oppression and political corruption explored in later seasons of the Clone Wars. And without a doubt, some of the show's spirit can be found in many of the present-day Star Wars stories, like Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, Andor, Rebels, and The Bad Batch. So in a way, the show lived. From a certain point of view, of course. These are just a few of the many Star Wars projects that have never moved forward or morphed into something else. There are many others, as this is the way of art and entertainment. Will we ever see Rian Johnson's announced series of films? Why didn't J.D. Diller's supposedly Sith-based movie move forward? Is Taika Waititi actually going to make a Star Wars movie? Was Kevin Feige actually going to produce a Star Wars movie or not? Many of these ideas are still active. These and many more were nothing more than rumors running wild or movie news scoops presented to the public long before Lucasfilm had decided to make them or not. But one thing is certain. Star Wars is not going away, and there's plenty of room for these stories and more to emerge from the dark and step into the light. Stay tuned, Star Wars fans. Stay tuned.